Did you ever feel overwhelmed that there are so many needs in the world that you felt there was nothing you could do? I owe Madeleine L'Engle again for these wise words. When I am bombarded on the evening news with earthquake, flood, fire, it is too much for me. There is a mechanism, a safety valve, which cuts off our response to overexposure to suffering. But when a high school student comes to me and cries because the 2- and 3-year-olds on her block are becoming addicted to hard drugs, when the gentleman who cleans the building in which the cathedral library is located talks to me about his family in Guatemala, rejoicing because they are alive, although their house had been destroyed by the earthquake. When a goddaughter of mine in Luxembourg writes me about the hungry children of the immigrant Portuguese family with whom she is living, then in this particularity, my heart burns within me, and I am more able to learn what it is that I can and ought to do, even if this seems and is inadequate. But neither was Jesus adequate to the situation. He did not feed all the poor, only a few. He did not heal all the lepers, or give sight to all the blind, or drive out all the unclean spirits. Satan wanted him to do that, but he didn't. That helps me. If I felt that I had to conquer all the ills of the world, I'd likely sit back and do nothing at all. But if my job is to feed one stranger, then the money I give to World Relief will be dug down deeper from my pocket than it would if I felt I had to succeed in feeding the whole world. Now, does that not give you relief? Does that not encourage you? And last of all, have you ever found yourself facing the impossible, the unbearable, sometimes for it wasn't so much for yourself but for someone you loved? One author I return to time and again is Corrie ten Boom and her book, The Hiding Place. Some of you may have read the book or have seen the movie about the Dutch watchmaker who, with her sister and brother, built a bookcase on the 3rd floor of their house where they hid the Jews from the Nazis in the Netherlands during World War II. Alas, all were discovered and sent to a Nazi concentration camp, including Corrie, Betsy, and their father. At one point, Corrie and Betsy were put to work leveling some rough ground just inside the camp wall. This was back-breaking labor. Corrie writes, "Sometimes, as I bent to lift a load, my heart cramped strangely. At night, spasms of pain gripped my legs. But the biggest problem was Betsy's strength. One morning after a hard night's rain, we arrived to find the ground sodden and heavy. Betsy had never been able to lift much. Today her shovels full were microscopic, and she stumbled frequently as she walked to the low ground where we dumped the loads. 'Schneller, hurry up,' a guard screamed at her. 'Can't you go faster?' Why must they scream, I wondered, as I sank my shovel into the black muck. Why couldn't they speak like ordinary human beings? I straightened slowly, the sweat drying on my back. 'Loafer, lazy swine!' The guard snatched Betsy's shovel from her hands and ran from group to group of the digging crew, exhibiting the handful of dirt that was all Betsy had the strength to lift. 'Look what Madame Baroness is carrying. Surely she will overexert herself.' The other guards and even some of the prisoners laughed. Encouraged, the guard threw herself into a parody of Betsy's faltering walk. A male guard was with our detail today, and in the presence of a man, the women guards were always animated. As the laughter grew, I felt a murderous anger rise in me. The guard was young and well-fed. Was it Betsy's fault she was old and starving? But to my astonishment, Betsy too was laughing. 'That's me all right,' she admitted, 'but you'd better let me totter along with my little spoonful, or I'll have to stop altogether.' The guard's plump cheeks turned crimson. 'I'll decide who's to stop.' And snatching the leather crop from her belt, she slashed Betsy across the chest and neck. Without knowing I was doing it, I seized my shovel and rushed at her. Betsy stepped right in front of me before anybody else had seen. 'Corrie,' she pleaded, dragging my arm to my side. 'Corrie, keep working.' She tugged the shovel from my hand and dug it into the mud. Contemptuously, the guard tossed Betsy's shovel toward her, and I picked it up, still in a daze. A red stain appeared on Betsy's collar. A welt began to swell on her neck. Betsy saw where I was looking and laid a bird-thin hand over the whip mark. Don't look at it, Corey. Look at Jesus only. Can you think of any time you wish somebody had said that to you? Can you think of a time you could have or should have said that to somebody else? And now, as you think of your own answers to these questions, be prepared to listen to somebody else's story and be ready to share your own with family, friends, or perhaps someone at coffee hour today. Let us remind each other of God's goodness and grace as we have known it personally. Let us encourage one another. Amen and amen.